when it comes to litter management, it is mostly untalked about. Yes, because people don't really want to emphasize on it. But litter plays a deep role in poultry production, especially with deep litter system, even with battery cage system. So how are you going to manage your litter so that you can reduce the level of smell and at the same time support the homeostasis of these birds and their production? That is what I'm here to teach you. You may be changing your litter frequently, but then it could be more harmful than doing good to you. Yes, if you don't really understand what it means to raise birds on a deep litter system, changing litter in and out all the time, you may deem it as having minimal effect on your birds, but then it is very significant. So Dada Farms is here today to give you a comprehensive guide as to what you need to do with your litter management, how you're going to manage your litter very well, reducing the level of smell, and if you really have to be taking off the litter frequently. I'm also going to give you steps as to why you don't need to be changing your litter frequently and what are some of the things that you can do to counter changing your litter frequently so that you can be able to reduce the level of smell and also to support the immune system of your birds. So once again, my name is Dada Farms. Basically, what I do here is to give you insightful videos in poultry production. If it is your first time of joining us, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment under the comment section to support Dada Farms. So now let's delve into it. So how many times do you need to change your litter? Well, that is subjective. It depends on how you're running your farm. But me personally, at Dada Farms, I don't change my litter until I sell my birds. Yes, and there is a secret to it, of which I'm not getting any pungent smell at my farm. And how do I do that? That is what you have to listen to this video to the end. So now, why don't I change my litter? One of the main reasons is it is a stressful event in poultry production. Just imagine scooping the litter in, out, moving the bags in and out, and also stressing out your birds, especially feed consumption, and also other physiological activity that they have to go through. And what you have been always doing is to stress them out with litter management that is detrimental to the health status of your birds. In fact, chickens are very prone to stress, any kind of stress, whether noise pollution or any kind of agitation that happens within your flock. So when you do that, you change their feeding pattern, you change their homeostasis, you also affect their immunity, and also they have to readjust to that new environment of stress that you're conducting for them. So taking out your litter frequently kind of stress your birds out, and it's very detrimental as a farmer. So that is one reason why I don't change my litter frequently. The second reason is that anytime you change your litter, there's a kind of disturbance within the air, which we call air pollution. And this air pollution is made up of some of this dust that rise up anytime you are scooping out the litter. And now this dust is going to settle in the respiratory tract of these birds, and subsequently it's going to cause something we call chronic respiratory disease. CRD in poultry production, normally people will relate it to microbial infections, especially mycoplasma species. But then for your birds to get CRD, your management can also be a big factor to it. So anytime you disturb the respiratory tract of your birds, they are more likely to get CRD. Yes. And because anytime you also take out the litter, there's this kind of ammonia release. There's a pungent smell that we normally hear within the litter. It tends to destroy the integrity of the respiratory tract of the birds. So subsequently, your birds will be very liable to all kinds of microbial infections, which have been tailored to the respiratory tract of your birds. So be very careful about it if you always want to stress out your birds with litter management. Another reason why I don't frequently change my litter is because of the headache of finding a new bedding material. Now, that is not even the issue. If you don't put strategies on grounds, you're even going to pick harmful bedding materials to your birds anytime you want to change it. And some people, when they want to change their litter, they tend to spray the new litter with some strong solutions that they deem is supposed to kill all the microbes within the litter. If the birds are susceptible to the solutions, it's going to affect the birds with regards to their health status. Some of them are even poisonous. So frequently changing your litter pose them a threat to receiving those poisonous bedding materials. You may be facing mortalities at the farm, and you may not be having a good representation or a cause out of it. Yes, but then it's because you may be changing your litter frequently, and these poisonous bedding materials tend to get into the immune system of these birds, and subsequently it affects their performance. And also the price of these litter materials are being underrated. Yes, they are very expensive. Nowadays, at first we used to get it free, but now you're not going to get it free. So to save the stress of going to change the litter frequently and subsequently buying litter materials or bedding materials, which will always eat into my profits, no. I'd rather find a way of implementing a measure that can be able to reduce the level of litter changing at my farm. Now, the fourth reason why I don't change my litter is because anytime you change your litter, you tend to disrupt the ecosystem of the microbes within the litter material or the bedding material. Now, within the litter materials, aside the wasted feed, the feathers, the bedding materials and others, Now, these litter materials also contain some beneficial and also harmful microorganisms. So both niche of microorganism is there to protect the integrity of immune buildup of your birds, especially against field disease. So anytime you change the litter, you tend to agitate the harmful microorganism, and through agitation, the dormant one tend to get energized, and subsequently, they tend to infect your birds anytime your birds are not being protected. Yes. And at the same time, the good microorganism that your birds needs to build active immunity against most of this field disease will also be distracted. That is going to reduce the balance that your birds needs to build active immunity by exposure against the old litter. So anytime you take up the litter, you are scrapping off the baseline for your birds to build active immunity against the field disease. And that is different from battery cages. So then battery cages do not have access to litter. So they don't have access to their poop or their droppings. So far as these birds are always dropping on the litter, they always have to find a way to build active immunity against most of this disease that they face. And how do they do that? They build active immunity through the litter that they use or the bedding materials. So please don't be taking out their niche. Don't be taking out the base that they need to rather build active immunity against most of the field disease. That is why you have to be very careful about changing of litter. The last thing I'm going to add about changing of litter here is environmental pollutions. Yes. Now, when you change your litter, if you don't get a liable customer to buy your litter material, then you may have to dispose this litter. And when you're disposing them, if you don't dispose them very well, it's going to cause environmental pollution, cholera, and some bacterial disease that people can also acquire through the litter. So now, when your disposal is not very efficient, you're going to cause subsequent infection. Sometimes these infections can also affect the birds anytime you dispose of your litter and it's closer to these birds. In order to save the cost and also to save our environment, I prefer to change my litter not so much frequently, but have a way that I change it so that it is not frequent. I'm not going to disturb the environment. I start disturbing my birds. So I believe now your question will be, so what do I have to do if you're asking me not to be changing my litter frequently? So these are measures that you can put in place to reduce the level of contamination of your litter and also to reduce the smell as a farmer. The first thing that you have to do is to have a very good stocking density of your structure. Talking about stocking density, I'm talking about the number of birds that are within your structure. Because anytime there's compaction, anytime there's outrageous number of birds within a structure, it tends to be dumped because a lot of birds will be dropping in the litter, and then your litter material will not be having that strength to hold up the pressure of their droppings or the spillage of moisture within the litter. And in doing that, they tend to build up ammonia faster. When the stocking density is of the right size, what happens is that your birds can easily spread out within the structure, and therefore the longevity of your litter can be very good compared to when there is jump or overcrowding within your structure. So your stocking density is a very good indicator. Another thing is that your structure, where is the ventilation, should be very supportive, because most of these litter materials contains ammonia, and ammonia as a gas will easily dissipate if there is strong ventilation allowance within your structure. So anytime there's an impedance of ventilation within the structure, ammonia tends to build up within the structure, and in doing so, it causes CRD, which is an aspect of respiratory disease that affects respiratory organ. So the ventilation of your structure should be very suitable to support the inflow of air in and out of the building. And that is where your birds are going to enjoy their free lifetime within your structure. And that is also going to reduce the rate of changing of litter. Because with that, you're always sure that your litter is always going to be dry. And with a good ventilation, you're always being assured that air passes through easily to reduce the level of moisture within the litter. What you can also do is that anytime you are putting in new litter within your structure, let it be thick. Yes, because the name is deep litter. It is not shallow litter. Yeah, it is deep litter. So let it be thick, at least 4 inches to 3 inches, which is going to serve as a very good bedding material for your birds. And if the litter material is very thick, what happens is that absorption rate will be very good, and it tends not to be damp easily. But if it is very shallow, you may be forced to be changing your litter frequently, and that is going to cause a lot of havoc. Yes, which I've already mentioned. So let it be thick so that it can create a very good bedding material for your birds to be able to also sandbath themselves against most of these ectoparasites, and also to serve as a very good insulation. Another thing is that reduce the level of spillage. Talking about spillage, I'm talking about the fact that your drinkers are always spilling on your litter. Yes, especially if you are using a dysfunctioning drinker, which always spill out water within the litter. Anytime there is spillage, make sure that you're going to block that pattern of leakage. If it is the pipes, if it's a drinker or anything that frequently leaks out to cause a lot of dumpiness within the structure. And I believe in doing so, you are going to reduce frequency of changing your litter. And you are also going to reduce the smell of the litter. Because you always know that for your litter to be smelly, it rather depends on the amount of water that is within the bedding materials. So if you can be able to do away with anything that causes spillage, then subsequently you can be able to reduce the frequency of changing your litter. The last thing I'm going to talk about here is working on your litter. Working on your litter means that anytime there's a cake litter, you have to scoop it off. Because if there's a cake portion of the litter within your structure, that is going to cause a lot of ammonia buildup. So frequently, be caking out your litter. Take off the clogs and also the moisturized area of your litter. Frequently. That is the word. Frequently. Also, you can't be working on a litter by turning the litter over and over again, at least 2 times or 3 times a week. When you do that, there's a lot of aeration within your litter, and that tends to let it dry easier to reduce the level of ammonia buildup. So basically, these are things that you have to do at your farm to be able to take care of smiling litter. It's also to reduce the level of litter removal at your farm. It's not magic. It is not complacency. It is effective management. And thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I really appreciate your subscription, your like, and your comment. Thank you guys so much, and have a very good day. Bye.